The film begins with a teenage boy and father fishing together. Kale Brecht and his father, Daniel, are involved in a car accident while returning from their fishing trip, which takes Daniel's life. A year passes, in which Kale remains in a consistent state of melancholy and lifelessness. One day, near the end of the school year, he is reprimanded by his Spanish teacher, Señor Gutierrez, for sleeping during class. When the teacher goes on to ask Kale what his father would think if he could see him now, Kale punches him in the face and proceeds to attack him. For this assault, which under normal circumstances could lead to a year in a juvenile detention center, he is sentenced by a sympathetic judge to a 3-month house arrest period with an ankle monitor and a proximity sensor, which prohibit him from roaming beyond the boundaries of his house and yard. He then learns that one of the police officers monitoring him is the teacher's arrogant cousin, who takes delight in humiliating and embarrassing Kale in front of others, such as one occasion where he is forced to the ground after accidentally going past the limits of the yard while chasing a group of boys that play a prank on him. Initially, he satiates his boredom by playing video games, but shortly after, his mother, Julie Brecht, cancels his subscriptions to the iTunes Music Store and Xbox Live, as well as cutting the power cord of his television to force him to help around the house more. His boredom leads him to spy upon the surrounding neighborhood. One night, Kale becomes suspicious of his neighbor, Robert Turner, who returns home in a 1967 Ford Mustang with a dented fender, matching the description given on a news report detailing an errant serial killer from Austin, Texas. Kale and his best friend Ronnie begin to view the girl next door, Ashley Carlson. She is alerted to their spying when Ronnie's binoculars collide with the window. She subsequently decides to join them. Ronnie and Ashley dismiss Kale's suspicions initially, regarding them as based on circumstantial evidence. But they become gradually more involved when events inside Turner's house lead them to believe that he has been abducting women and murdering them there. Kale observes a woman Turner had picked up from a nightclub trying to escape the house in a panicked state. However, she is later seen to leave. Thinking nothing is wrong, Ashley has a party which Kale ruins by blasting Minnie Riperton music out his window. After Kale and Ashley have a conversation, they start making out. A scene then shows blood splattering on Turner's window, which both teens fail to see. Later, with Kale and Ashley watching, Turner is seen to drag a heavy bag to his garage, which Ashley claims to have seen blood on. Kale insists that Ronnie break into Turner's car to get his garage door opener to continue investigating. While Turner is at the store to buy a shovel, Ronnie retrieves the garage door opener code, but unfortunately leaves his cell phone behind. That night, Kale keeps spying on Turner and leaves messages on Ronnie's cell phone. When Ronnie discovers that he left his cell phone in Turner's car, they attempt to get it back by opening the garage door. They do this successfully, and Ronnie finds the bag and says he can see hair in addition to blood, leading the two of them to conclude that it really does contain a human body. The garage door is suddenly shut, and Ronnie hides in the house while Kale attempts to rescue him in the process, alerting the police to the breach of his house arrest. As the police arrive, they search the house and discover that Ronnie does not seem to be anywhere inside. Checking the garage reveals that the bag contains the remains of a deer that Turner had hit on the interstate. Kale fears Ronnie is dead, but later discovers that he escaped, unharmed, fearing that he would be caught if he stayed and confessed to breaking into the house. And Kale's mother, Julie, then goes across the street to talk to Turner herself in hopes of steering him away from pressing charges. While she is there, Kale watches Ronnie's tape, which he left on the whole time he was making his escape from Turner's house. As Ronnie falls over in his haste in the tape, he accidentally filmed something hidden behind an air vent, so Kale zooms in to see what it is. It looks like a clear bag with something in it. He zooms in further and sees what is clearly the dead body of a girl. At the same moment, Turner then moves into Kale's house and hits Ronnie on the head with an aluminum baseball bat, He then goes after Kale, who tries to signal the police by unplugging his proximity sensor, then runs outside to trigger his ankle monitor, but in the end fails to escape. Turner knocks him out and duct tapes his limbs together, as well as duct tapes his mouth shut. Turner then reveals his plan to frame Kale for the murder of his mother, due to grief over his father, and Ronnie due to annoyance over going out with Ashley before killing himself. As Turner has Kale writing a suicide letter to Ashley, she enters his bedroom, surprising the killer. Kale knocks Turner down, giving him and Ashley a chance to escape. They leap out of Kale's window, landing in Ashley's pool, also alerting the police of Kale's escape. Kale grabs a pair of garden shears and goes to search for his mother in Turner's house, while Ashley goes to warn the police. In a room resembling an operating theater, Kale finds credentials belonging to Turner's previous victim, the red-headed club girl, as well as a wig, suggesting Turner wore the wig and it was him Kale saw leaving the house. Officer Gutierrez arrives at the scene in the hope of charging Kale for breaking and entering, but he is killed when Turner sneaks up behind him and breaks his neck. Proceeding to the basement of the house, Kale falls through the floor and finds himself floating in a pool, along with several dead bodies in various states of decay. He manages to climb out and finds his mother bound and gagged underneath the foundation. Turner suddenly appears from behind Julie and attempts to silence Kale and his mother. Julie stabs Turner in the leg, giving Kale time to kill Turner with the pair of gardening shears. As Kale and Julie exit the garage, the police arrive, and their ordeal with Turner is over. The next scene then shows Kale in his kitchen getting his ankle monitor removed and released from house arrest for good behavior. It then shows Kale getting revenge on the neighborhood kids who put a bag of flaming dog feces on his porch, and calls their mother pretending to be with their satellite TV provider and says someone is currently watching adult movies in their room. Their mother rushes into their room and discovers the boys securing Kale's revenge, but then he says that he hopes for more, as that was only his first strike. In the end, Ashley and Kale begin making out on a sofa when they are interrupted by Ronnie, who is fine apart from a black eye, filming them with plans to put the video up on YouTube. Nevertheless, they do not show any sign of annoyance other than Kale doing a half-hearted middle finger at Ronnie. The film ends with the song "One Man Wrecking Machine,"